Hey guys, it's Tammy and welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing to you 4 episodes from SHIELD Season 1. So this is going to be a MCU recap. But before we get started, make sure you like the video, share the video, comment below, and make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. So let's get started. Today is, I'm sorry, I have my notes. Today is the season 1, episode 8, The Well. And it starts out with Simmons talking about other worlds. Simmons, Ward, and Fitz are at Greenwich University, and they're basically cleaning up the mess from Thor: Dark World. All the debris and the alien technology, they're cleaning that up. And then we go to, I think it's called Trillamarca Park. And there's some rangers, and they come upon a sign that has been spray painted. They're talking about how the vandalism has been up lately because people are trying to find different things from any of the alien invasions in these different parks and stuff. And then a man and woman are walking on a trail. They say a poem, and then they start cutting down a tree. The man finds a metal pole, and we don't know what the metal pole is. The woman grabs it, and it looks like she's being pained by this pole as she grabs it. And then she kills one of the park rangers when they walk upon them. And she has all of this huge power. So and the pipe, the large metal pole or pipe that they find, actually is embedded. And they find out, actually SHIELD finds out that the information on the staff that they find, or on the pole, whatever you want to call it, is Asgardian because of the wording. So, and Coulson figures that out. And then we go to Seville, Spain. Coulson goes to visit a professor, and he tells him about the professor tells him about the Berserker army, and that the staff that those people found is called the Berserker staff. While searching for it, they find the professor. He has basically ran off with. He's basically found the Berserker staff with the two people, and he runs off. Ward grabs him, or grabs the staff, and then he gets this anger and this power. So, and then Coulson sees a car flip, and it lands near him, and then he finds the professor who was trying to escape with the Berserker staff. So, and at this point, he stole a piece, but the professor did tell him that it was in 3 pieces, and the Asgardians send it to 3 different places. So now the rebels, have found 2 pieces of the staff, because they get the piece back from the professor. And then Ward is sent to interrogate the professor, and then they find out that he's actually Asgardian. So the professor tells them where the 3rd piece is. They go to a monastery to get it. The professor gets stabbed with the staff. And Ward and May fight the rebels, because one of the rebels drops the other piece of the staff, and May and Ward grab it and put them all together. And then they get this anger, and they fight the rebels. So um, Coulson puts his hand in the professor's chest to save him because that's where he got stabbed. And then Grant goes to, after they fight them and they beat them, they take the staff. I think they actually don't let the professor keep it, but I think they lock it up in a shield facility. And then you see, like, they're exhausted. The staff makes you angry because it shows you things that have happened in your life that have made you angry. And so you see everybody's pretty exhausted from this whole situation. And you see May going into her hotel room, and she has a drink in her hand. And Ward is standing at his hotel door, and he sees her. And they don't say a word to each other, but she leaves the door open when she goes in. So Ward goes down and goes into her hotel room, and then the door closes, and then that's pretty much the end of the episode. Except Coulson, actually, they show Coulson having a nightmare about Tahiti. So that leads to episode 9. So that's pretty much the episode 8, The Well. It pretty uneventful, except with the Berserker staff. I feel like it was kind of a filler. But we did get to meet another Asgardian, so we know that some of them are on Earth. So, which is good to know. So, other than Thor. So, let's go right into episode 9, which I have no idea what the name of it is. Let's get right into it. So, Shield Season 1, Episode 9, called, I can't remember what it's called. Um, so, we start out in Batesville, Utah. There's a girl named Hannah. She's in a store, and the cashier is looking at a newspaper, and her face is on there. So he starts telling her that this man was his friend, and he heard that she was the one that did it, and we don't know what happened. I think on the newspaper it says that there was an explosion at a plant, and she's like, I didn't do it. And then she's like, well, you know what, I think I'll just go somewhere else. So he keeps saying that Jack Benson was his friend, and then they get into an argument, and he comes around and stands in front of her. And then she's like, please just leave me alone. And then all of this stuff comes flying off of the shelves at him. And he's like, are you doing that? And she's like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm sorry. Just leave me alone. And then the whole shelf comes over on the man. And then something happens with the gas pumps, and the gas station blows up while she's inside, and she's on the floor and she's crying. And she keeps saying, not again, and why are you punishing me? So then we go to the agents. They go to get her so that they can keep her safe. May and Coulson talk to her on the bus. They when they go and get her, they go to pick her up from her house. And there's cops because people are yelling and throwing eggs at her and all this other stuff. So it starts getting dangerous, and she looks out, and then this police car comes flying down the street. It almost hits Agent Coulson, and then it just runs into a fence. And because he jumped in to save this other man from it hitting this other man. And so May shoots her with the night gun, and they take her onto the plane. So Coulson and May are now talking on the plane, and they talk to her. They go to talk to her and find out if she has always had these powers, or if it happened because she was working with a particle accelerator. And she tells them that they're not going to believe her, but she's actually being punished by God. Meantime, Fitz and Simmons decide that they're going to trick Sky in a freshman prank because they graduated 2 years early, so they didn't get to pull any freshman pranks. The girl, meanwhile, tells them that she's being haunted by demons, and that's why God is punishing her. So, then they find out that, like, some man is, like, roaming the ship. He tries to hit Simmons when she pulls up on their little 3D computer. She pulls up the particle accelerator, and she realizes that there was, like, a loose coupling or something like that in the particle accelerator, which was why it blew up and killed all those people. And this man shows up and tries to hit her with a wrench, and it goes through the table, so the computer, the particle accelerator, of course, disappears. And then she tells them, you know, Hannah's not lying. There is actually a ghost on the ship because he just disappeared. Fitz gets stuck in a room because he goes to get a coupling from this area on the ship, and the guy appears there and locks him into the room. And then the ghost, whose name is Tobias Ford, he pulls some wires and causes the ship to go down. And Ward is trying to protect Fitz and Simmons because they finally find Fitz. He's trying to protect them, and Tobias fights him. Well, he fights Tobias, and he keeps disappearing, and then he, like, knocks him out and pushes him in the room with Fitz and Simmons. So Coulson goes to call HQ while this is happening, and he pulls those wires, and all the systems go out completely on the plane. And while it's dark, Sky goes to talk to Hannah and basically try to smooth things over a little bit with her and kind of keep her calm. And they share, like, a little moment about God and what they believe. And so Fitz and Simmons think that while they were working on this particle accelerator, they were trying to find another portal like the one that Loki brought in the Chitauri through that portal. So but they just kind of say that as they're going through the dark halls. And then so May is on the plane, and she's asking them to talk to her and tell her what's going on. And then they tell her that there's a ghost, and he's harassing Hannah, and he's trying to get to her. So May goes and gets her before he can get there. She takes her out to a shed in the woods where the plane has kind of crashed, and she tries to draw him out. Once she draws him out, she fights him, and then they realize, because even Sky is on the plane, and she realizes that the guy Tobias liked her, so he kept doing things to the particle accelerator, so Hannah would have to come and fix it, because that's the department she was in. So she had to fix the different parts of the particle accelerator. So while May's fighting him, then she tells Hannah to tell Tobias, you know, that she's a friend and she's not there to hurt him. And then May gives him this speech about letting go. He finally lets Hannah go, and he disappears. And then Hannah's fine. So they take her back to the ship, or the plane. They put her on there, and she goes to sleep, and that's pretty much that. And then Sky talks to Coulson and tells him that he should try to keep getting through to May, Agent May, because she finds out from Fitz and Simmons a false story about why they call May the Calvary. And then Ward told her a different story, and then Coulson told her the actual story because he was there. So after she talks to Coulson, she goes to the cockpit. She asks May if she can sit down with her. May doesn't answer, so she says, cool. And she sits down with her. So And then they flash to another scene where they're playing Scrabble and they're getting mad because Gemma Simmons she came up with a word. It's a British word, but it is an actual word and they don't know what it is. And then Fitz comes walking out and he's mad. He was talking about he was just sleeping, being peaceful. And he has like cream or something on his face and on his hand. So when he was asleep, I guess he slapped himself in the face. Um, and he thinks it's one of them, and they all say no. And then they flash to May. She's in the cockpit and she's laughing because she was the one that did it because he told that story about the cavalry. So that is season 1, episode 9. That one was pretty quick. The action scenes were pretty good in that one, but other than that, I mean, it was kind of a weird story because they don't really deal with ghosts. They deal with supernatural powers, so which was weird. But let's move on to season 1, episode 10, called The Bridge. So, Shield season 1, episode 10, The Bridge. Starts at Havenworth Federal Penitentiary, and a man sits his tray down in front of the man that Raina had spoke to when she went to the jail. Raina, if you don't remember, is the girl in the flower dress. And the man tells the other prisoner that the seat is taken. So the gentleman takes his tray, he starts walking away, and then some men bust through the ceiling and they tell the gentleman that Raina was speaking to that it's time to go. They strap him up and they take off through the roof in a helicopter, I think. So then we go to Coulson. He speaks to Sky, who has looked up an agent. Her name is Catherine Chang, and he actually worked with her. So he tells Sky a little bit about her, and Sky thinks that this agent may be her mother. Basically, Coulson just tries to band-aid the situation and tell her, you know, it may not be true. Just because she dropped her off doesn't mean she's her mother. Just trying to baby the situation, and he tells her that May is also researching the situation with him. So, meanwhile, they get the story of the prison break, and HQ sends Coulson to pick up a agent to help them with the situation, and it winds up being Mike Peterson, who has now joined SHIELD. So Peterson gets his vitals and stuff recorded from Agent Simmons, and then when he comes back up, they're discussing the mission, and he recognizes the woman in the flower dress. He tells them all that her name is Raina, and she told him that she could change his life. And they do a lip reading analysis and find out the name of the clairvoyant through the man that Raina was talking to. So Coulson and Ward go to Ohio because they also looked up the men, facial recognition. They looked up the men that were the soldiers, and they found out that one of the men had a sister living in Ohio, going to Ohio University. And Ward and Coulson go to Ohio to speak to the girl. Ward acts like a lottery commissioner. He gives her this card, which they implant a chip in. So when she calls her brother, they track where the call is going to. And they find out that he's in California. So they go to California. When they go there, they're in like a warehouse. The 3 soldiers that broke the guy out of prison, they come out of these trailers and they fight Ward, May, Coulson, and Mike. One of them stabs Mike with a pipe through it, it was an organ, but it looks like maybe his kidney or something like that. But he stabs him in the side. Um, so Mike gets up because the guy almost kills Coulson, and he gets up. He gives it his last strength. He knocks the guy out, and then the guy is looking up at them, and he's like, "No, I'll never tell them anything. No, please don't." And then his eye explodes, just like Aquila Amador, who they were trying to figure out who had the tech for that failsafe in her eye. So now they've run into it again with the Centipede Project. So they're assuming that whoever is in charge of that was the handler for Amador's handler. So and maybe the clairvoyant is the person that is funding all of this, so he's their connection. So Coulson speaks to Mike, and he tells him, because Mike was talking about how he's hurt and he won't be any help to them for a couple days. And Coulson says, I found out that you never went to go see your son. And Mike explains to him, I was a monster the last time he saw me. And Coulson's like, yeah, but you still have a son. You have someone that's waiting for you. Some of the other agents don't, so they can commit their life to this, but you have to make a decision. So Mike calls his son to tell him he's going to come and visit him. And his son is like, oh, good, then you can meet my friend. She's here right now. And Raina gets on the phone and says, Mike, remember when I told you I could change your life? So then they flash to finding out that that they wanted to make an exchange. Raina wanted to make an exchange for Mike for his son. So they come up with a plan. They don't have HQ involved at all. And when they get there to make the exchange, then Coulson finds out that Mike actually did the exchange for his son, to get his son back for Coulson. And Mike gets his son. He goes back to the car. He tells his son to stay with Sky. And meanwhile, they knock out Coulson and they're dragging him to a car. And everybody's like, what is going on? Where are they taking Coulson? They have Coulson. So May is like, I'm going to call HQ because we need satellite assistance. So she's talking to HQ. Mike tells Sky that he's going to leave his son Ace with her and that he's going to make it right. And he starts running back towards Coulson. And there's a tank on the side of him and it explodes. And, everybody's like, oh my God, what, they blew Mike up. And then the car that Coulson and Raina and the soldiers supposedly got into blows up. And then they see a helicopter flying up from underneath the bridge. It shoots at Ward because Ward is like their point for he's like their sniper. And they shoot at Ward. They knock him out. And they fly away. And Coulson looks at Raina and he says, whatever you think you're going to do, it's not going to work. And she says, oh, yes, it is. She said, and the main thing that we want is very simple. We want to know what happened to you the day after you died. And then it goes off. So that is season 1, episode 10, which was The Bridge. Now we're going to go into episode 11, which is The Magical Place. So we get to see what Coulson's talking about when he says Tahiti. It's a magical place. When he keeps saying that same thing. So, all right, let's get it going. Continue Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episode 11, The Magical Place. We begin with a man opening his suitcase. He's speaking with a woman. He's trying to sell her something, and then he says that it's 100% premium Jatari metal. In slides this shield thing that comes across the floor. It's a flash grenade, and then Ward comes in. He starts fighting all these other men, The man with the suitcase closes the suitcase. He takes off. Ward warns, um, I think he warns Fitz-Simmons that the man is coming down the hall and that they're up. They send those drone things to chase after him. Um, and then he runs into an elevator. He goes into the elevator. And then Sky basically shoots him up to the roof by like going through the floors super quickly. Once he gets up to the roof, he starts running. He runs around a corner, and Agent Hand and Shield agents are there with guns drawn. And she looks at him and she says, "Mr. Van Chat, we need you to help us find our friend." So that's how it begins. Sorry, of course, I'm reading my notes. Agent Hand wants, we go back to the plane. She's conducting a plan to basically try to shut down the Centipede Project and find out who the clairvoyant is. And everyone's still concerned about Agent Coulson because they haven't heard anything from him. They don't know where he is. And Sky wants to follow Van Chat's money to find out where Agent Coulson is. And Agent Hand basically tells her, no one agent is more important than another one, and they're not more important than a mission. And then she asks Agent Ward if he thinks that Sky can be useful on the plane. He says yes. And then she asks Agent May, and Agent May says no. She thinks that she can't be useful on the plane. So Sky and Agent Ward, they're really pissed off at May. So they basically send Sky away. But before she goes, Fitz-Simmons give her a bag, and they tell her it's a sandwich, and it's actually a sat phone. And Agent Ward tells her, well, Sky, the agents from S.H.I.E.L.D. are coming to get you in exactly 12 minutes. Good luck. And then everybody walks away. So she escapes kind of to a coffee cafe, and S.H.I.E.L.D. just takes down all of the internet service for all of the computers. So she runs out to a newspaper stand, and she's going through some stuff, looking through some magazines, and she sees this millionaire who has invested. I can't remember what he invested in. I can't, because they flashed the picture really quick. So basically, she goes to find him. She finds him. He's going into an office. He's on the phone. She takes his car. Because she like looks in this window at the store. She gets this outfit that's like all black, and there's like a leather jacket and stuff. So she's coming out of the store with the bags, and before the valet can get to his car and move his car, she hops in it and she takes off. And then she tries to call or do something. Oh, she tries to go on the internet in the car, and S.H.I.E.L.D. shuts it down. So she tries to figure out another way, and then she decides to crash the car, and she calls they send a tow truck to come and get it, and she says she just wants them to tow her to her house. So she gets to the house. They tow the truck to the house. She opens it with a garage door opener. And she goes in, and she can't do anything on this man's computer. So basically, she calls his office and basically says that his car's been stolen and blah, blah, blah. He needs to come to the house. They're investigating it, blah, 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 blah. And he needs to meet officers there. So he comes to the house. She basically convinces him that she works for SHIELD, that her name is Agent May, and that she needs him to look up some accounts, some offshore accounts, because they have been watching him. So he's trying to do that. He doesn't quite know what he's doing. Meanwhile, he presses a button for security, and security comes in, and she basically beats up one of the guys, and the other guy just, and she takes his gun, and then the other guy just stands there. And she, because this millionaire doesn't know how to get into the offshore accounts, she basically has one of the security guys go in and look it up, and she finds Mr. Van Chat, and who he's been dealing money to, where he's been giving money to. So she follows his money, basically the money trail, and it leads her to Raina. So then she finds out that they recently acquired a ranch that's out in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of a desert. So she takes the man's car, and she basically gets back to the SHIELD agents, and she calls them on the sat phone and tells them what's going on. Meanwhile, Agent Hand is sending people all over the world to all of these different centipede sites, but she doesn't want to follow the lead that Sky gave them. So the team, Coulson's team, decided to follow Sky's lead. Meanwhile, while they're doing that, they're showing Coulson, and he's being interrogated by the man that Raina went to visit, and he's not getting anywhere. Agent Coulson isn't telling him anything. So the clairvoyant calls, and he asks him what's going on. He tells him he's working on him, and then he asks to speak to Raina. So the man hands Raina the phone. She's talking to him. She tells him she agrees. She hands the phone back to the man. She says, well, the clairvoyant wants to speak to you. And when he puts the phone up to his ear, it does something like electrocute him or something, but like his veins turn blue, and he basically dies on the spot. So then Raina goes and basically talks very sweetly to Coulson and tells him that she just wants to know, and the clairvoyant just wants to know how he died and he was brought back to life. That's all they wanted to know, and then he can go. And she told him basically all the stuff that they knew about him, and how they knew about the cellist, and how she was hurt because SHIELD lied to her and told her that he was dead, and how she cried and all this other stuff. So he decides that because he's struggling too, he decides that he'll go into this machine that they were interrogating him with, and try to find out what's going on, because he wants to know too. So Raina puts him in. He's crying. He's seeing visions of doctors, and he's in Tahiti, and it feels like they're massaging him, and it's a magical place, and then it flashes to this black doctor, and he's like, who ordered this? And this is horrible. We need to stop. Listen to him, because he's screaming, please just let me die, please just let me die. And this machine is like doing things to his brain, like they have his head open, and the machine's doing stuff to his brain. So Coulson doesn't tell Raina about it, but his team gets there, and they take out some of those like super soldier guys, and based off of what Sky told them, so they found where that place was, They get there, they knock Raina out, and they pull Coulson out of the machine. And he's screaming, he's crying. They're trying to wake him up. They're all crying because they can't figure out what's wrong with him. And then finally he comes to. And then they flash to Raina has been arrested. She looks at Coulson because he's standing on the steps. And he comes down and he thanks Agent Hand for, taking over. She leaves with her team, and then he talks to his team and thanks them for coming to rescue him. So I believe that's pretty much the whole. And then he goes to visit that doctor, and he asks the doctor why they did that to him, and he said that Nick Fury ordered it himself, and he wanted him to be the same man that he was before he got killed by Loki. So then he just kind of disappears out of the back of the car, and the doctor is like stressed out because he didn't want to do it anyway, and he said he knew that day was coming when Coulson was going to want answers. So and then before the episode goes off, they flash Mike Peterson. He wakes up, he's completely his face, the one side of his face is like completely burned, and he throws these covers off of himself, and he's missing a leg. And then all of a sudden in his eyes, like we were looking through his eyes, it says hello, Mr. Peterson, stay tuned for more instructions. And he's just like, oh no. So he has that same eye thing that Amador had, and her handler, and all of that stuff. So I believe it all leads back to the clairvoyant, and whoever the clairvoyant is, that's who's basically running the show. And he's the one that's causing, or she is causing, all of this destruction. So that's what happens. So that is episode 11 of season 1, The Magical Place. So we're starting to see a little bit more, like things are starting to kind of come together, and we're starting to see a little bit more of what happened since Avengers, and what happened, what's been going on with other people. So it's tying some loose ends up for the rest of the MCU world. So again, that was season 1, episode 11, The Magical Place. So I wanted to do these in parts. So that's going to end this first part of my second leg of S.H.I.E.L.D. So the next ones will be 12 through 16, episodes 12 through 16. It'll still be season 1, and those will be bundled together. So that ends this video. Make sure you like the video, share the video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. And stay tuned for my next recap, which is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1, episodes 12 through 16. So I will see you guys soon.